Yeah.
Okay, so this is our webinar for the ARCO Project National Project Fund 2014 Learners and Mobile Devices. And our guest speaker this morning is Logan Austin. And Logan is a graphics design lecturer here at AUT. And Logan was one of the first members of one of our first communities of practice here at AUT. So he's going to talk about some of his experiences. I've just muted Catherine's mic while she's getting set up. So over to you, Logan.
Well, hi everyone, good morning. I'm coming to you from home. I'll just sort of flick down a little bit. Me and my little cat here, we're going to sort of do this morning's little talk. Don't want to give him all the attention, he gets a bit much already. But it's all the stuff's a new experience of what you can do. Just even interacting like this with my cat. And having a bit of a casual chat as you do. And I think that coming from not being able to work social media, not really understanding how we put things on the cloud, not really understanding what apps could do for us in our context of wherever we work, has been a big journey. Because I didn't know anything when I started. You know, sort of like, I'm coming from a farm in the middle of the countryside where an app is like a tool on the back of a trailer that you take out into the farm to fix something. And now we've got these mobile tool carriers that, you know, well, I don't sort of see them as a phone, because really the phone has become an app. And is this a phone or is this an app carrier? Because I think of them as app carriers, small and big ones. I've got my iPad out to the side, sorry. Because I just find the big screen really, really lovely, and the compact nature of the phone, of course, you're going to have it everywhere. So for me, it's been a bit of a journey to get my head around how am I going to use it in my area. Because I teach graphic design, which goes into moving image, stop frame animation. I'm using Softbox Pro to color things. We've got all sorts of different animation settings in the different apps we use. And I think that's really exciting. I can bounce things up to the cloud. I can grab them on my iPad when I get home. So I've come from nothing to being able to do all these things now that I never used to be able to do. But I'm not saying that everyone's going to do what I do, because I think that's what this whole thing is about, is we've got to find what works for us. And I'm not really sure what your area is, or the other people that have joined in are, and just what you're doing. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about what your project is, so I could sort of understand a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Well, we work in the Faculty of Education, so our students are primarily training to be teachers.
Yeah.
The lecturers that I'm working with, they have different subject areas. So far we've worked on a course in junior commerce. We're looking at a course in digital enhancement, and that group of students are quite interesting because they've been going through a digital immersion program, so they're very savvy, and they've had a lot of experience. They've had a day a week for the last year focusing on digital immersion. So now, as part of the course that we're planning for the summer school, we're looking at getting them to actually think critically about their practice with mobile devices. So I think that will be quite interesting, because they have already spent a year getting really immersed in the technology, and they're very comfortable with it, and they're using it extensively with their students.
What size groups are you working with?
They've been small so far this year. The junior commerce was a group of 10 students, and the digital enhancement will be about 15 students. But then we've also got some larger groups. We had a technology education, teaching technology course, and that was, I think, about 120 students. And then for next year, it's probably going to be around 200 students on 3 different campuses. So, and also for next year, we're looking at the practicum course, and I think that's around 100 plus students. So I think the challenges for us is how to scale up, I guess, what we've done with the smaller groups this year, which we've found very successful, and how do we implement that with the larger groups. So yeah,
that's why I asked about the numbers, because that's the issue I sort of strike, is I often teach large groups, 100 plus, and some of the things that we've been working really well with these small groups, very hard to put to 100 people and say, let's all do this, and I'm not quite sure how to get around that one.
yeah.
Whereas certain content uploaded to sites like WordPress and all that are easier to share, I think, rather than interact with, maybe might work better. I'm not sure. I can't categorically say.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because we did a focus group interview yesterday with one of the groups, and they were definitely coming through was for them because we used a Google Plus community, that was an extension of the community that had been created. Our lecturer spent a lot of time on building a very safe, trusting environment in their class, and that, I think that meant that the Google Plus community and their engagement with that and using their mobile devices came easily because they already had that community formed and they already trusted each other, and that was another space where they could share and interact. So I think what we're thinking about for the larger classes is trying to actually build some small groups that go into making up the larger classes, so that interaction can take place between people who have formed those connections.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that idea of having peer mentors, and break them up into small tutorial groups is a great idea.
Yeah.
We've also got Catherine from EIT. Do you want to introduce yourself, Catherine? Oops, we've lost your audio.
You muted it earlier.
Yeah, I did, but I've unmuted it.
I can see her.
2 minutes, she's saying. 2 seconds.
Oh, you're back. There we go.
Back? Okay, good.
Hi.
Hi guys. So I'm Catherine from EIT, and I'm heading up the EIT group. And this is Robin. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Robin, and I'm part of the ARCO team at EIT. And first time I've been to one of the webinars, but yeah, hopefully we'll be a regular participant from here on in. And we both teach computing, so yeah, mostly our students are fairly comfortable with technology anyway.
Yeah, though we've got a similar issue with, though we don't have big groups as such, we've got, sometimes they can go up to 40-ish, but we can't always guarantee they've all got devices. So that's also another thing. The bigger the group, it's harder to figure out what devices they have and the capabilities. And a lot of what we can do, we can't be device specific or app specific. So that's one of the things.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the key is choosing platforms that are cross-platform and multi-device, so they can do Google Plus Hangout on basically anything. So it's not limiting what the tools are. Anyway, getting back to Logan. Logan, perhaps do you want to talk about some of your maybe where you came from, your initial fears, and how you overcame those, and what you think the potential is for some of this technology in your teaching?
Well, I mean, we are coming from a place where one of our staff members had their information stolen online, not through this technology, but it was quite a scary place to come from. I mean, they'd actually been stalked from the information this person had found about them online. So when it comes to jumping into, let's put all of our stuff up on Google Plus and share all of our information, there was a lot of fear. And we had to get over that as a group, because we were like, should we do this? Shouldn't we do this? Are people going to use our information in the wrong ways? Who's really going to, we just didn't really know how secure a lot of this stuff is. And it's only really by doing it, my cat's just going to, I think, go. Go, puss. And I haven't really experienced, as a group, we didn't experience any real problems in the end. And I think that's been a great thing to go through a couple of years and just go, oh, phew, nothing actually happened, and actually it's all been pretty positive. Everything we've used has been useful. But, you go to the App Store and there was 50,000 odd apps there last time I looked. Finding something that is useful for you that you can actually connect with a group and go, let's use this together. Even that's a mission. I've spent hours online just flicking the App Store. So I don't know how we all cope, and I think we're all going to have to find a solution individual to each of us. I'm in art and design looking for things of how we can use them in our area for our courses. Obviously, you're in different areas with different places. You'll be looking for different solutions. But I do find them really useful, and the fact that the iPad and the iPhone work in harmony, really, because I'll often take a photo at work of things going by that will just be there on my iPad to look at later on a bigger screen. I find that really useful, just the handy nature of it'll be in my pocket. Well, not just as a phone and a camera, of course, as everything. Video, different kinds of stop frame animation, color correction things, all sorts of little devices. We do a lot of sound stuff now, and I'm sort of getting back to there's actually really good quality microphones on these devices. We should be using them in these ways. They're just generally practically really useful for everything. What else would you like me to say there, Tom?
Well, I guess from my perspective, I think part of the key was you having that experience as a lecturer. So being able to find out what the potential was from your own experience, I think, was part of the key, and being able to see when that actually occurred, and you sort of recorded that on a few blog posts, and you talked about some of the apps that you found really useful, and then you started using them in your teaching in class, which was, I think, really powerful.
Well, I suppose, and the continuation of that now as we look as designers back into this technology as to how are we going to make content for it, and how do we make the communication of what happens easier and better. Because ultimately we'll be the designers of the apps at one level, and hopefully we can make better apps for people to use by getting to understand how to use them and just everything about them as best we can.
Yeah, I think in the context of graphics design, mobile technologies enhance, the physical books, etc., and the graphics experience. But it's also the fact that, because everyone has these devices, that whole way of accessing graphics is changing, isn't it?
And understanding the market of who's using them and how they're using them. Young people don't think quite the same as us older people, and how they're going to actually use things. We might all go, let's go to Twitter and do this. They might have all gone off Twitter by that stage, but we wouldn't know this. Keeping up with their trend, I think, is quite hard. And sometimes by the time we figure it out, it's already out of date. And I think really the key is actually communicating with your students a lot, because sometimes they're more up to date than we are about what's going on, and I like to listen to their ideas because they'll have some new thing that's going on, or have you heard of this, and we'll race off and we'll have a look. That's about that.
Cool.
What else?
Well, has anyone got any more questions? You'll have to unmute your microphones.
I'm quite interested to hear, Logan, about what the students have been doing with the technology and how you did integrate it into your teaching.
Well, I used in a stop frame animation class, I did a good talk about all sorts of different apps that you could download because of the ease of setting them up. Like, a lot of cameras have stop frame, a lot of cameras don't have stop frame, but then it'll have like a setting. You can take a picture every 1 second or every 3 seconds, and that's it. Whereas a lot of these apps, they're very specific. You can have one that goes every 29 seconds for 3 days or something like that, and set it up. in a way that only a high-end camera would have. But you can get a free app for your iPhone that will just do these things. So I've been looking at a lot of free apps because our students don't like paying for apps, and as many useful free apps as possible to give them a list where you can just say, have you tried these? You know, you might find some good options. So I think you have to spend time looking at a range of things to just start them off, and then they will come back and say, we also found da-da-da-da. And I find that I end up making a new list from what they find versus what I started with, because I usually just have a few things where I'm like, this is a good idea, have a look. And by the time they come back, they'll have 16 ideas of the same thing, but from different places that I never thought of. So I don't think we have to have all the answers, but we do need some starting places.
Yeah, I like that idea of triggering events. So, starting with something that will hopefully trigger some creativity in our students.
Yeah.
And I found putting, I suppose it was a blog up on WordPress, recording different stages and things that I've been doing through a lesson that was explaining a different process was really useful for people to go back to and refer to. And I've used it more than 1 year, so it's sort of like once you create something really nice, you've got this permanent record online that you can refer people to with different groups. I haven't used it hugely, but those sorts of things I have done. Yeah.
It's interesting with what you're saying about storing that as well. So it's not just the creation of it, but actually putting it out somewhere so you can share amongst not just the students, but maybe the wider community. And you're quite lucky with what your subject is, because I think graphics design is quite exciting with what you can do with the mobile devices. So that's very interesting.
Well, there's a lot going on in the video because the phones are just so mobile and portable. Although I think that brings around ethical issues of just how we film in public. So I don't want to go too much into just sneak around with your phone and film people. But there are lots of really exciting phone projects going on using iPhones or smartphones just to get around the Samsungs and other brands, etc. So, yeah, I mean, they're very popular for those sorts of projects, because they've already got one. And if you ask people, do they own a computer, they've probably got a computer. Do they own a phone? They're pretty much, I don't know, 80% of them would have a smartphone, not 100%. I was a bit shocked. I actually thought all of them would have a smartphone. I'd done this course with Tom thinking, wow, everyone's into this technology. They're not all there yet. And it's sort of like we're a little bit ahead of them. And I'm waiting for them to all get their smartphones so you can just say, let's all do this. And I think we might be another 2 years away before you can just say that. And we've got this bridging time where we've got to go, well, they don't all have one. How do we actually work with some of them having it? Whereas it's not going to be long before they all have one.
Yeah, I think that's where group work comes in. But I think every student group is different. So the key is actually asking them, what do you own? And then and then you can, that's your baseline for what you can do.
Do you find that they're using a range of tools? Like our students, they were talking about how they use the mobile phones for, checking things quickly, but if they're doing a lot of writing, they'll go back to the laptop, and they're actually getting a range of devices, the ones who have more than one device, and they're using different devices for different tasks. So you're finding that with your students?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the same with using my phone. It's the convenience of it being in my pocket that makes me use it, not because I prefer it over my iPad, which has a bigger screen, which I prefer, but it doesn't fit in my pocket. And half the time you want to use it, you haven't got it on you, unless you're a bag carrier and you've got your iPad and all that. I mean, some people do, but I don't. And if it comes to typing, I hate typing on a little screen on a phone, and I would far rather have a keyboard. So there are times when you just practically go, give me a bigger device, and that's how I'd rather work, I think.
What about doing the animation and the video editing? What are they using there?
It's still a combination of computers. We might capture things on mobile devices, but we would edit them elsewhere just because of the sophistication of the software.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there isn't editing apps out there, but it's probably not going to stack up to the same things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes to putting a movie together, there's lots of component pieces. There is filming, there is sound, music. People are using them for all of those other areas as well, and putting the component pieces together. Yeah. Sorry.
Logan, I was just wondering, did you have any resistance from your students on actually using the devices? So were they happy to use them for the creation, or did they want you to rather provide them with the original? I presume there would be resources that they could use traditionally, like the cameras and stuff. Were they happy to use the phones?
Well, it wasn't a compulsory component. It was sort of like you can film it this way, you can also film it this way. And I know they don't all have the devices, so it would be wrong just to say you all have to go and use your iPad or your iPhone. I don't really see why we would force them to do that. But I think they should look at the options of what it can offer them. And a camera can only do so much, even if it can film in video, where some of the apps are actually incredibly sophisticated in what options they give you that you wouldn't find on a camera. So, you know, it's worth searching through the apps to see what new things you can find that it's going to give you some new benefit.
Yeah, and what's unique about those mobile devices. So looking at the fact they have a GPS, they have a compass, they have a proximity sensor, all those types of extra contextual elements built into them.
I quite like a little bit of colour on my face from time to time, and I can just reflect that off my Softbox Pro. But you know, for whatever reason, there's an app built for some kind of filming and just adding a bit of an effect. And I actually do use Softbox Pro because it is there for. Whoops! Oh damn! It's just gone off. Oh, too late. But it reflects colour onto surfaces for when you're filming, and it gives it a lot more dynamics and interest. And it's just one of those apps you come across and go, oh, I wonder what this would be like if we used it. Now, if I didn't search, I wouldn't find it. And so it's a time thing. How much time should we put into actually developing these things so we can give them to students? And I think you just need a little bit, because if we do all the work for them, what are they doing? We just need a little stimulation, a little bit of, hey, look, there are these things, but there's more than what I've found. What can you find? That's more sort of how I approach it. Because I don't know all the answers. I don't think you need to. I think you just need a few answers that get them stimulated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great approach because it's about what the students do, isn't it, in learning, and it's about the graduate outcomes. You know, so what we want them to become is the key.
Yeah, the critical learners, the critical evaluation. If you gave them everything, they wouldn't be critically analysing anything.
And I think the way they search and think about the world will not be the same we do. So some of the answers that they'll come back will be really rich, things that we just would never have done ourselves. You've got to sort of give them freedom to search and find and see how that comes back and gels, I suppose.
Hey, well, thanks, Logan. It's been awesome with the discussion here, and great having Catherine and Adrian and I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. Robin, yes. So great to have you all on board this morning. So I just want to say a big, huge thanks to Logan. This is the first time that Logan's done a live Google Plus Hangout like this. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Logan. Honoured to be part of your first Hangout.
Nice meeting you all. Have a lovely day.
We'll see you all later.
Thank you, Logan.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
Bye.